Hi guys, what's up, what's down, what's sideways? James here for Chronic Fatigue Syndrome, day 75, my friend, my enemy, my constant companion. Um, so I didn't know what to title this one. I didn't know whether it was going to be like Old Man Syndrome or Like an Old Man or, strength training, is it worth it? Um, or like my day to day with chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia syndrome. So much fun. Like, you guys missed out on the best party. The best. Um, uh, Very quickly. There was someone in a support group, and they said having chronic fatigue syndrome whilst a teenager is the worst thing because I've got to keep cancelling on my friends, and I want to see them and socialize. And one part of me cracked up. Maybe that's just the older, cynical side of me. I don't know. But I got a bit of a laugh out of it. And the other part is like, oh, that's kind of sad, Um, Human beings, we're pack animals. We need our pack. And, this person isn't getting to go and engage with their pack. So it's kind of sad. The other part of me just cracked up, like, um, if that if that's the worst thing that can happen with chronic fatigue syndrome, that would be so good. I have no way of expressing to that person how I would take that. I would, if that was the worst thing to happen to me, was that occasionally I'd have to cancel my friends, I would take it with both my hands and I would be running with it. It's mine. Um, Perspective is a very powerful thing. Um, yeah, so the other thing was like, old man syndrome, or walking around like an old man. Um, so I'm male. If you're female, it would be walking around like your stereotypical older female, male, stereotypical older male. Where you're hunched over and your steps are a little bit askew, and your walking speed would challenge the tortoise and not the hare, kind of thing. And like there's a couple of reasons. So it's that kind of hunched over, crouched kind of walk, and there's a couple of reasons. Um, so I'll talk from my perspective now. A couple of reasons why I do it. One is my body just feels like it's going at it with an invisible thing, and it's trying to protect itself. So like it comes in, trying to protect itself, and because you feel beat up and you're oops, camera adjustment, not that much, pattern interrupt. So you're kind of like walking around like this, and kind of like your shoulders hunched and trying to protect your torso and all that, because you just don't feel well, and you try like your body trying to protect itself, but that's how you protect it from like an external influence. This is an internal influence. There's nowhere to go for it. So when I notice that I'm walking around like an old man, I consciously take the time and make the effort to stand up and change my physical bearing. So that way, at least, I'm not adding the mental, like, adding a negative mental state to my physical state. So by hunching up and going into a protective kind of crouch, I'm also programming in my mind that that kind of, oh, I've got to be defensive. So to work my way out of that, I just stand up. Sometimes it can be really, it can be quite a lot of discomfort. If you've got really bad abdominal pain, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to stand up. However, I will, to whatever extent I'm physically capable always try and stand myself up. So sometimes I'll let myself shuffle around a bit, and then I'm like, nope, up you get. Try as you best you can, and then I might find my body kind of regresses to this, and like, nope, back up, you know. So it's not, when I do this, it's not saying that I don't feel good. It's not saying that I'm not in a bad way. It's just, why add to it? You know, I'm not an invalid. I'm not a stooped over individual. I'm me, and I don't need to train my brain to add to the not good feeling that's happening at the time. So stand up as best I can, and then yeah, it's not going to make the thing go away, but I'm now upright, and I'm going to elevate my mind at least so that it can be a bit more problem solving, as opposed to like, I will protect myself from the world, and the world's not necessarily the problem. But in sharing that, like, today was, like I said, a lot of fun with, like, the pain was, it's not the worst I've ever experienced, but it was certainly bad, you know, affected my vision. It was the pain that wraps around, like, feels like it wraps around your bones, and like it's weird. It's the encasing of your bones, and not like my bicep pain or my forearm pain. It's that combined with then where I usually get my bad pain. It's not fun, and it can be debilitating, and it can be stressful, and it can be upsetting, and it can be very maddening. So it's already a bad state to be in. I don't want to go and add this physical, you know, physical external representation of what's going on top of it. So CFS and fibromyalgia syndrome are invisible illnesses for the most part. Like, we look tired, our coloring our face can actually give you a lot of clues and cues, but we just might look puffy or tired, or, you know, pale or flushed, or our hunchedness might indicate some sort of abdominal or internal pain that we're feeling, but it is an invisible illness. You know, I don't have lesions on my body that the worse I feel, the more prevalent they are. You know, I don't have a cast wrapped around something. I don't have a little barb on my side with like, today James is here. Today James is here. Today James is here. You know, like, there's no visual indicator for people to go, who? There are cues, like when I look at other people with chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia syndrome, or other chronic illnesses, I'm like, you're in a bit of pain, aren't you? So, not a lot of people are very aware or perceptive enough to pick up on those cues beyond, they look a little bit tired, or he looks a little bit ill today, you know. If I look ill, if you can see that I look ill, I am really ill. Like, I was ill most probably a week ago. You know, I've gone past the ill. I'm really ill. So sometimes you can't always hide it, but there's that thing of, I don't want to go adding to it. So, you know, it's not that think positive and it'll all go away. It's, you know, what can I do to not add to it? So if I'm like this, well, I'm making my mind very defensive, and if I open myself up a little bit more, I can maybe change my perception and my thought pattern. And changing the thought pattern isn't saying it's going to make you better, but it will make you feel better in the sense of you can problem solve and work your way through it, as opposed to being inundated and swamped and, drowning in the misery. So it will make you feel better in that you won't be feeling worse. So it's quite likely that you're in that stage, like you got to the worst stage, and then if you bring yourself out of it, you'll feel better because you're not actually making yourself feel worse. So like I keep saying, like you already got your CFS and fibromyalgia syndrome, and if you keep layering stuff on top of it, you'll feel worse. So if we take those layers off, then hopefully we just have to deal with what the actual CFS, fibromyalgia syndrome things are for that day. So next time you notice that you're walking around like an old man or woman, older man or woman, write yourself and practice that, and almost guarantee that if you keep doing that over a period of time, I'm not talking like on the day, but like a period of time, you might notice small changes, and sometimes small changes is all we need for a slightly better tomorrow. So thank you very much for letting me share with you today's Day 75. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to introduce yourself, or any comments, comment below. Like, share, subscribe, hit the little notification button, and thank you very much for letting me share with you today about chronic fatigue syndrome like an old man.